Hello SDN community, and welcome to the third and final webinar in our Transition to School series. In the first webinar, we began exploring transition to school by unpacking what skills are required for school, as well as addressing some common myths about school readiness. In the second webinar, we moved on to focusing on the necessary school readiness skills and provided some examples of behaviours that would indicate a child's development or mastery in these areas. In this third and final webinar, we will look at some of the practical ways in which we can ensure a child's village is ready for the transition to school. To do this, we will look at how SDN and families work in partnership to foster school readiness skills for children, ultimately supporting a smooth transition to school. Firstly, it is important to emphasise that school readiness preparation does not just start in the final year prior to schooling. School readiness preparation is a learning journey that commences as soon as a child begins learning, which we know is from birth. Some practical ways to foster school readiness skills we have discussed, such as emotional resilience, along with making and keeping friends, are embedded in SDN programs and can be easily translated into the home environment. The first of these is focusing on emotions. Every SDN program has resources, activities, and experiences focused on supporting children to identify their emotions and develop and express empathy for others. Educators and families can use emotions-based books, pictures of people expressing specific emotions, mirrors, and role play to support this learning. Another practical strategy to promote school readiness is imaginary school play. This can be achieved by providing open-ended environments for children to test out their ideas of what school is and how it works, enabling them to explore and extend their ideas in a familiar, safe environment. Families can emulate this by engaging in dramatic play with their children whilst playing schools. Children will demonstrate their understanding of what they think school will be like through role-playing being the teacher and the student, and parents and educators can then allay any concerns or misconceptions that present during this imaginary play. In the last few months leading up to school, this imaginary play can be extended further by introducing relevant props, such as school bags, uniform items, and lunch boxes. These details are often very exciting elements, but also ones that children do not automatically know how to use, so the opportunity for practice prior to starting school is important. The introduction of these items also supports self-help skills, as children learn how to use them effectively. Opportunities for educators and families to support children's autonomy are embedded in many everyday routine times. Examples of these include supporting independent toileting and hand hygiene, children dressing and undressing themselves, putting on and taking off their own shoes, and empowering children to keep track of and look after their own belongings. Another practical measure that parents can put in place to support the transition to school is to get familiar. When you have decided on the primary school your child will attend, ensure that you point it out when you walk or drive by it, and discuss the school by regularly making positive statements about it. You may even take your child to play in the school's playground on the weekends, if it isn't fenced. Once enrolled, make sure your child attends the kindergarten orientation visits and that you meet the classroom teacher. Each school will have different ways of completing these steps. Some have formal interviews and a number of orientation visits, while some have more informal gatherings. Whatever the format, this is a great opportunity to immerse your child and family in the school setting to prepare for the transition. SDN will support connections to local schools wherever possible by inviting the principal or kindergarten teacher from the primary school to visit and speak to the parents and children about what to expect during their transition. At times, when we have a child who has attended SDN and moved on to a local primary school, we will also invite them back to speak to their younger peers about what it is like and to answer their questions. Our educators and centre managers will also connect families who will be attending the same school to support children and families to forge relationships and support networks in their next learning environment. SDN staff are also able to provide transition statements to the primary school your child will be attending. These will outline their achievements against each of the learning outcomes in the early years learning framework, as well as important information around how your child learns best and any strategies we may have identified to support their transition. Family partnership meetings can also be held between the centre manager, the preschool teacher and parents to support your family to answer any questions you may have about your individual child's school readiness and any specific support strategies. Finally, often the most powerful way educators and families can support a child in the transition to school is to ask the child what they think big school will be like, and is there anything about big school that they would like to know, or anything about going to school that is worrying them. You may be surprised by their answers, and their biggest worry may actually be something that you can eliminate immediately. If you would like any more information on how SDN works in partnership with families to support school readiness and transition to school, please do not hesitate to contact your local SDN centre. Thank you for exploring school readiness and transition to school with us. We wish you and your family well in the next exciting chapter in your child's learning journey.